Jack Pollock at the IPG Media Lab, and I'm here with James Slezak of Purpose. Just was on a panel titled Activism, Startups, and Rock Stars. Can you tell us a little bit about the panel and what you guys discussed?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we were trying to unpack the idea of how do you build a movement, how do you build a crowd, and when you think about it, South by's got all these amazing creative people creating content that millions of people see, has all these entrepreneurs who are trying to get millions of people to add their apps, and then it's got activists who are trying to change the world in some way, and the one thing they all have in common is that they have to try to find a way to inspire millions of people to listen to their message and do what they're asking. And so the idea was to try to see what we could learn from each other rather than sort of being siloed in our separate buckets.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, can you tell us a little bit about Purpose and what you guys are doing?
Sure. Yeah. So Purpose is a social change agency. We're a group of movement entrepreneurs, if you like, and what that means is that we try to start new movement organizations. We try to find ways that collective action can solve big problems in the world, things like climate change or things like human rights problems. And so we've launched a number of large movement organizations, and we also work with other existing organizations where they're already launched and they exist, but they want some help in thinking about how to activate and mobilize large numbers of people.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that actually we were just talking about was that we're both kind of very interested in is this idea of the shared economy, right? And you see so many startups launching at South by Southwest and so many new apps, and one of the big trends that we're seeing is this idea of, again, a shared economy. Whether you're sharing a car, whether you're sharing tools, whatever it is, we now have a means where we can actually bring this entire community together and share services that we really wouldn't be able to before. Can you talk kind of about that movement?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think the shared economy is going to be huge. I think it's already starting to be huge. Already millions of people are starting to think, well, hey, maybe I don't need to own a car, maybe I don't need to own an apartment, maybe I can share it. And so we go from a world, hopefully, where you look out the window and you see thousands of cars sitting on the road for 90% of their life being unused, and apartments empty in expensive cities like New York or here in Austin. And we're starting to realize that we can actually share them. We can take advantage of that. And maybe we don't need to keep building more houses and cars. We can take better advantage of the ones that we've got. And so I think it's going to be really big. Purpose is working very actively on ways that we can bring people together from these different sharing organizations and really grow the sharing economy.
Yeah, absolutely. And anything from Airbnb, right, and sharing housing to something like Kickstarter, where we're actually crowdfunding to source all these different projects. But one of the barriers, one of the challenges is this idea of trust, right? You have to build a community of trust, and how do you do that? Have you seen some good examples of people being able to actually build some trust when you're actually sharing things across strangers?
Yeah, well, look, one of the most exciting things I think about the sharing economy, the new economy in general, and peer-to-peer services is how much they build that sense of trust, that social capital that really holds us together as a society rather than just as a group of separate people kind of scurrying away and looking out for number one. And so I think, in the cases you mentioned, ride-sharing services or apartment sharing services, they take advantage of our ability to access your social network, Facebook, LinkedIn. They'll check your mobile phone number. You'll put in a credit card. And so rather than just sort of putting a posting on Craigslist, Craigslist is great, but it doesn't have that same trust dynamic. These guys are able to actually make you less of a stranger when you're borrowing someone's apartment.
Awesome, very cool. Well, thank you so much, James.
No worries, thanks a lot, it was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. For more news like this, check back at ipglab.com.